On Authentic Ag, we talk with Taylor Williamson with Kansas Wheat about this year's Wheat Quality Council's Winter Wheat Tour and how things could be shaping up around Kansas. We'll also talk about future opportunities for the crop. Plus, we'll have features from Kansas corn, more from Kansas wheat, as well as our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. Brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. In agricultural news from agview.net, the harsh conditions in Kansas this past winter have prompted one of the state's leading weather agencies to develop a tool that will help cattle producers in the future. Officials with the Kansas Mesonet, which is a K-State-based network of weather monitoring stations around the state, announcing the release of the Cattle Comfort Index. That's a tool that they say will help cattle producers better monitor the needs of their herds during normal and extreme weather conditions. The Cattle Comfort Index compiles much of the climatological factors like weather, humidity, solar radiation, wind speed, and more to help producers determine the level of stress that their animals may be experiencing at any given time. The climate information is then gathered from each of the Mesonet's 61 reporting stations in Kansas. For each, the system reports the perceived comfort level of cattle in that area from no stress to mild, moderate, and even severe. The tool was developed from research conducted at the University of Nebraska. The Kansas Mesonet website includes a map that shows conditions across the state and how that might play into risk for cattle. You can find the tool online, mesonet.kstate.edu/agriculture/animal. Well, USDA is eyeing the Kansas City Metro, Purdue University, and Research Triangle Park in North Carolina to relocate two department agencies. The agency announced the three finalists recently as relocation spots for the Economic Research Service and National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue says the move will help ensure that USDA is the most effective, most efficient, and most customer-focused agency in the federal government. It also allows USDA to be closer to the agency's stakeholders. But the National Sustainability of Agriculture Coalition says the proposal would result in the loss of skilled staff and bring the potential for politicization of the nonpartisan research agencies. The coalition says it's deeply disappointed that USDA is pressing forward with the plan, adding that the lack of cost-benefit analysis for USDA is concerning regarding the alleged benefits. USDA says it will release a cost-benefit analysis when announcing the final site. And a group of Midwest senators urging the Army Corps of Engineers to communicate better with lawmakers. Senators from Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, North and South Dakota sent a letter to the Army Corps. In it, lawmakers describe issues that they've been having with communications between the Corps and local levy sponsors and those in harm's way. The senators requested the Corps begin sending email updates to all local sponsor of Corps levies in the Missouri River Basin weekly, starting within 30 days of receiving the letter. Better communications, the senators say, could have mitigated just some of the damages they believe during the beginning of the ongoing flooding along the Missouri River this spring. Now, during the heightened flooding events along the Missouri, the Corps of Engineers hosts scheduled conference calls with stakeholders as well as the media, sometimes as much as daily. The Corps also generally provides a forecast for the Missouri River once every 3 weeks. But during this spring, that forecast has been updated weekly. That's Ag News. More coming up. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call. We can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Well, joining us now, Taylor Williamson with Kansas Wheat. He was one of those on the annual winter wheat tour that took place around the state just a few days ago. And I believe this was kind of your first official one that you've been on, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I've heard them go around before and always kind of wondered about it, but this is my first one. Okay,
as we get into it, before we maybe look at the different regions, give us kind of the overall take, the overall number, and so on.
So our group estimated 306 million total bushel harvested. That would average out to about 47 bushel an acre.
So with that at least indications so far, almost double what we saw last year.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good crop this year, especially with the rains we've had this week. There's a chance that we have a pretty decent crop.
Okay, so you're from Southwest Kansas where you grew up, but you saw a lot of wheat at a lot of different places. Maybe what were some of your observations you took away from being on the tour?
So back on the tour, over that Highway 24 corridor, it was getting pretty dry. We saw some shorter wheat there. A lot of it will depend on when it got planted. The later stuff looks not so good, but the early stuff that got planted in before the rains came last fall will look really solid. South Central Kansas got lots of rain throughout then, and a lot of that looks pretty good. We're starting to see a little bit of rust going on out there, but Southwest Kansas has some really good crops coming up.
It looks like, just anecdotally driving by at 55 or 60 mile an hour looks really good. There's maybe a couple of pockets where it isn't, but you brought up the possible rust issue. Mm-hmm. Were there some areas where we see some disease pressure?
Just in that South Central area. When we were up in the Northwest and Southwest areas, we didn't see anything, and then as we started moving east towards Wichita, we started seeing more and more and more.
What were some of the questions of the non-Wheaties, if you will, or maybe those non-Kansans that they had on the tour?
So some of them were asking just about wheat in general, and especially some of the issues that the farm economy is going through. We've had a lot of questions about trade, and then some people got a little more involved with how pesticide use is going, and is there any resistance with weeds and things like that.
So you think it's a good opportunity for folks like you and even farmers to be on there to kind of help advocate and talk about what growing wheat and where it goes into, and just kind of fill in maybe some of those questions they may have?
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to meet with millers and traders and farmers. We got a chance to go to Lawn From Farms over in Northwest Kansas. It's a very large operation that we really got to see some of the bigger size operations, and it's a really good opportunity for people from DC, from Southwest Kansas to intermingle and get to know each other and learn different perspectives of the industry.
Taylor Williamson is with Kansas Wheat, talking about the annual wheat tour that takes place the first part of May. Stay with us, we'll have more coming up.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Taylor Williamson with Kansas Wheat joins us. Taylor, let's now maybe turn our attention to trade. Obviously, I would guess as you talk to your members of COG and farmers as you're out in meetings, that is probably, other than the weather, the biggest concern is a market for wheat.
Yeah, especially with USMCA, the new agreement to replace NAFTA. That's a big one. Mexico's our largest wheat buyer, and Kansas exports about 50% of all of our wheat. So it's vitally important that Congress get USMCA pushed through and make sure that we're not losing, market share to some other country. That's the really big one.
What are you hearing as far as getting a vote? One of the hang-ups was a vote being taken in Mexico. That has now been done. Will the possibility of getting it done before the August congressional break, is that maybe our best possibility?
So Congress always works best when there's a deadline. I think we've heard some optimism from some of our offices that they know just how important this is to farmers, and there's been a lot of correspondence back and forth just letting them know that we need this done. And I think there's some optimism, depending on who you talk to, that maybe that August deadline they can get pushed through. This ITC report that reported that exports would increase by 1.1% on ag, that was positive. We were a little bit nervous that maybe it would come back with a less rosy outlook, but I think that'll help.
Well, the USMCA, of course, is kind of NAFTA 2.0 or a new version of that North American trade agreement. But as we're speaking, there's still maybe a little consternation with our friends in Canada about some other issues, which kind of spills over to China. China has just been a big market overall for all U.S. commodities. Yeah,
and the WTO just ruled in favor of the United States on a tariff rate quota case. It would open up roughly 9.6 million metric tons of wheat to go into China, which would actually make it the second largest importer in the world. That was a big win, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through to make sure that gets fully administered and implemented, but we're very hopeful on that, and that would represent a big win for us as well.
Other things that you've been working on as far as the trade front, Kansas still one of the leaders when it comes to trying to set wheat policy and trying to make those connections.
So Brazil as well had a TRQ that we worked on a lot. It has 750,000 metric tons that we were working to get opened up to let into the Brazilian market, and that got accomplished. Now it's a matter of implementing it once again, and we're in prime position over the next few months to fill that if it'll actually get opened up. That's a big one for us.
But the bottom line is we need to make sure we have some good growing days as this wheat kind of finishes up, because we're anticipating, finally a good harvest.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Some cool days would knock this harvest out of the park.
All right, Taylor, we appreciate the time, and first time through did great, so we'll be talking to you again.
Thank you.
Taylor Williamson with Kansas Wheat has joined us. We'll have more coming up. Stay with us. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hello, I'm Jody O'Lean and I work with Kansas Corn Commission and Kansas Soybean Commission on their Common Ground Kansas program. Common Ground Kansas is a farmer-led organization of 18 farm women statewide. And what they do is connect with non-farm moms about issues that occur on the farm and off the farm to create relationships and conversation around today's food and farming. So our first event in April is on the 18th, and we're working with Manhattan Chamber and young professionals to host a meetup in Manhattan. That meetup will occur at the Manhattan Meat Market, and we'll be hosting farmers and non-farmers alike to come together and have conversation around food and some really great bite-sized meals. So our second event is April 27th, and it's Cows, Cooks, and Conversations. It'll be occurring at Hildebrand Dairy in Junction City. And while we're there, we'll have Chef Allie on site cooking up a great meal and just really gathering around and having conversation about how to get things done in the kitchen, how to get meals on the table, and really where those meals come from. Our last event will be on June 1st, World Milk Day, and we'll be partnering with Midwest Dairy and Crystal and Lowell Neitzel to host a yoga on the farm at their place. To learn more about Common Ground or even get involved, visit our website at commongroundkansas.com. And that's commongroundks.com, or search us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
Make plans now to attend the National Festival of Breads in Manhattan, Kansas on June 8th. There's no better way to spend a Saturday than sampling breads, learning to bake, eating at food trucks, having fun and learning at a kids' fun zone, and watching a live Food Network style baking contest. The National Festival of Breads is all this and so much more. The festival is free to attend when you bring a non-perishable food item for the Harvesters Food Network. In addition, military appreciation gifts will be given to the first 200 military families with military ID. The festival will feature activities for kids of all ages and baking workshops for all skill levels. From face painting to making pizzas in a bag and bread shaping demonstrations to workshops with cookbook authors, there's something at the National Festival of Breads for everyone. Expert baking instructors will be on the main stage giving demonstrations on baking with yeast, braiding and fun shapes for breads, and baking with young families. The festival brings the entertainment of a live baking competition. 8 finalists from around the country are competing to find America's bread baking champions. There are 2 divisions for the 2019 competition: home bakers and food bloggers. Attendees are welcome to watch the masters at work, sampling their winning products and take recipes home to try themselves. At the end of the day, judges will announce the champions. Title sponsors of the event are Red Star Yeast, King Arthur Flour, and the Kansas Wheat Commission. For more information and to view the complete June 8th schedule, visit nationalfestivalofbreads.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The Kansas Livestock Association has been selected by the Kansas State University Livestock and Meat Industry Council to receive the 2019 Don L. Good Impact Award. The award will be presented October 4th during the K-State Animal Sciences and Industry Friends and Family Reunion at the Stanley Stout Center in Manhattan. Named in honor of the longtime head of the Animal Sciences and Industry Department at K-State, the award recognizes individuals and organizations that have had a positive impact on the livestock and meat industry. KLA Chief Executive Officer Matt Teagarden said KLA is honored to join the distinguished group of prior Don L. Good Impact Award recipients. KLA and K-State Animal Sciences and Industry have maintained a strong partnership for much of the livestock organization's 125-year history. Collaboration between the two entities helps further the education of students seeking career opportunities in the livestock industry and provides timely educational programs for livestock producers, such as the KLA K-State Ranch Management Field Days held each year across the state. More information, including registration for the Family and Friends Reunion event, is available on the K-State Animal Sciences and Industry website.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Hi everyone, Zach Otot here with Paragon AG. The ag markets are trying to rebound after President Trump's most recent comments regarding trade negotiations with China. Over the weekend, he sent out a tweet saying that the 10% tariff on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods would be run up to 25% come the end of the day on Friday. This, of course, sent the markets in a downward spiral, soybeans and hogs taking the brunt of it. Currently, the U.S. and China are meeting in D.C. to try and hammer out the final details before the week's end. The funds still hold a record net short position in the grain space, keeping prices suppressed. We are still waiting to come across a news headline that would scare them out of that position. We do have the May supply and demand report set to come out at the end of the week to give trade fresh numbers to chew on. Many analysts are expecting a bump in ending stocks across the board, which could keep old crop prices at bay. Looking more specifically at corn, we have our eye on planting progress. We are currently sitting at 23% planted versus last year's at 46%. The extended weather forecast does not seem to show a break either. If we see later planted corn, we may see the new crop contract move higher. On the soybean side, the biggest issue again is trade. If we get a deal in place, we could see a jump higher. If Trump sticks with his guns and ups the tariffs, we may find out where the bottom really is. Weather is an issue here as well. We are sitting at 6% planted this year versus 14% last year. If we get the seed in late, we will likely see lower yields. Wheat followed corn down at the start of the week, coming off of news regarding China, as well as a Kansas wheat tour estimating an average yield of just over 47 bushels an acre. The USDA rated this year's crop as 64% good to excellent versus last year's at 34%. We did bounce back, however, as news of a freeze event occurred in France this week. It does not look like it will hamper production much, but does help us keep in mind that we are still due for a freeze here at home. Final decisions are difficult, no matter what time of year. If you need to sell last year's crop or think you should get started on a new crop, but can't decide, consider an alternative strategy. Let us help you find that strategy that fits you. Give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors at 888-452-8751. I'm Zach Otot. Have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you for joining us for Authentic Ag. If you have questions or comments, email me, kenrahjes@gmail.com.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
My name's Karen Cope and I have multiple sclerosis. I heard about the stem cell research with the Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Before we decided to do that, I had cognitive testing done. After the stem cells, I had the cognitive testing completed again, and the results indicated that I had a 6-point increase in my cognitive abilities. It was like somebody had taken Windex and washed all the fog off my brain, and so I had the concrete, validated information that stem cells work.